So I know almost nothing about the band Radiohead. I've heard Creep. I reacted to Creep. And yeah, I have started getting a lot more into the musical discourse that goes on throughout the entire internet. And this is this album that I'm going to be taking a look at is considered to be one of the greatest albums of all time by a lot of people, or one of the most like experimental albums of all time. Now, I have no idea if I'm going to agree with that, but the amount of praise that this album gets has made me want to check it out. Also, just because I've been wanting to listen to more Radiohead. You know, I like to Creep. Although I did find out that the song Creep is kind of a joke by this point within the real like big Radiohead fans in their fan base, because it was like their big like commercial single that they did, where most of their other stuff is a lot more experimental. This album is supposed to have inspired lots of other groups and a lot of the independent or the alt rock sound for a lot of other groups. So anyway, I'm very excited to check this out. I think the themes of the album are supposed to be pretty dark, deep, and heavy, which is my favorite. So, should be interesting. Should be fun. Thank you for joining me. Now, before we get into it, I just want to break down how it's going to happen. I'm recording my reaction to the entire album. I'm listening to the whole album in one sitting right now. However, I'm going to be cutting up my full reaction into either individual sides or individual songs. I think with this album, it might be more prudent to do individual songs. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, thank you for joining me. Let's get into this. The first song is called Airbag. Really like the bass in the background. It's a little weird sounding. the heck? Sounds so alien. I like that riff a lot. That's the end of the first track. Huh. All right, let's get into the lyrics for the first song, Airbag. This is interesting start to the album. Airbag is the very first song off of OK Computer. The song is somewhat autobiographical. Tom has been involved in a car accident roughly a decade before, and his life was saved by an airbag. He touched on this fear before this track, most notably on the aptly titled The Benz B-side Killer Cars. Lucky, the 11th track on OK Computer, similarly discusses a feeling of superhuman reincarnation following from a motor accident. On Lucky, however, the protagonist is pulled from the wreck of a plane. In a Rolling Stone article in the form of an expansive oral history of OK Computer, lead singer Tom York and producer Nigel Godrich, not sure which, offered the following insight into the song's meaning and composition. York said, "I was really frightened of cars back then, but Airbag was almost the opposite of that. If you get into a crash or potentially disastrous situation and walk away, you feel 1,000 times more alive, regardless of what that is." He's John Kramer. Cool. I was also sort of experimenting with the way that Michael Stipe wrote lyrics, where you've got this sort of semi-nonsense, but when you add it all together, it all makes sense. The drum loop on the song was inspired by DJ Shadow. It's a departure from a rock band. What happened was I told Tom and Phil to sit there for a couple of hours and create a drum loop. And a day and a half later, they were like, okay, we've got it. It wasn't very exciting sounding, so I ran it through Johnny's pedal board. And we did 3 takes of him just like doing all sorts of stuff to it, and we put it all in. That's really cool. And yeah, I can see that being one of the reasons why it sounds so unique. So the lyrics are, "In the next world war, in a jackknifed juggernaut, I am born again in the neon sign. Scrolling up and down, I am born again. In an interstellar burst, I'm back to save the universe." So it's like I'm reincarnated almost. Yeah, so one of the things about the lyrics on this record, by the way, when I'm recording this, I've already heard the entire album. This is after I've recorded the whole video. I'm just cutting up things so that it works better for YouTube's formatting. This album, I feel like, has a lot of different interpretations that you can come out of it. Like right here, I'm seeing... I am not really getting exactly what he's saying the song is about from this first little bit of... from these first few lines. In fact, in the chorus, it sounds almost... sounds very science fiction-y. In an interstellar burst, I'm back to save the universe, which kind of makes me think of something being reincarnated or something coming, almost alien. Scrolling up and down again sounds like a phone, kind of, but this album came out quite a while ago, in 1997. Interesting. His voice is super unique. Tom York's voice is one of the most strange and ethereal voices I've heard in quite a while. It almost sounds like it shouldn't be as cool sounding as it is, But yeah, he does a really good job. All right, in the next world war, yes. In a deep, deep sleep of the innocent, I am born again. In a fast German car, I'm amazed that I survived. An airbag saved my life. In an interstellar burst, I'm back to save the universe. This song's pretty... is really just easing us into the album, in my opinion. While Juggernaut is described as a large, unstoppable force, campaign, movement, or object, it may also refer to a semi-trailer truck. It being a jackknifed juggernaut paints the vehicle as being bent or folded into the shape of a pocket knife. Oh, wow. The line is an allusion to Tom York's own car accident, one of the big inspirations for the song itself. So then, I am born again. Reincarnation and renewal are prevalent themes in the song. The narrator is beginning to realize he's different and a better person following his traumatic car crash. Again, Jigsaw. Neon signs are a common sight in densely populated urban areas. And we've got the chorus. Tom York said, every time you have a near accident, instead of just sighing and carrying on, you should pull over, get out of the car, run down the street screaming, I'm back! I'm alive! My life has started again today! Eureka! At the beginning of the song, he is describing this feeling exactly. It is taken to a next level when the speaker is seeing himself almost messiah-like with powers to save the entire universe now. That's actually really cool. This feeling is also reminiscent of a track that appears later on the album, Lucky. There, Tom York feels like a superhero after surviving a plane crash. I really like that. So that's why it was so over the top. Interesting. In 2016, a book donated by York to the Oxfam University revealed sketches of the lyrics to this song. The book was William Blake's Songs of Innocence and Experience. The beginning of the second verse appears in the margins of 1789's poem, A Cradle Song, a poem about a mother singing an innocent child to sleep. The poem seems to take place after a devastating experience. The narrator feels reborn as an innocent child or sings to himself trying to convince himself of such. The conclusion being that innocence and experience may not always be opposites. Interesting. And that's pretty much it. All right. Since that was really pretty short, let's go back to the track list. And let's take a look at this right here. About OK Computer. Despite not having a hit anywhere near the size of Creep, Radiohead's previous album, The Bends, was successful enough for their record company EMI to give them complete creative control. The result was 1997's OK Computer, which was designed as a deliberate reaction against the grunge movement of the 90s. Then newish engineer and future Radiohead mainstay Nigel Godrich told Rolling Stone of the recording sessions, "They were the band of my dreams. There were no constraints. This was not Neanderthal rock and roll. It was very high-level thinking, conceptual, moving forward in terms of sonics and beautiful songs. It was a perfect thing. Lots of people, lots of ideas, and we were all pulling in the same direction. The album's lyrical themes and composition has it hailed as way ahead of its time, predictive of society's obsession with technology and the isolation and paranoia that comes with it." York, however, explained that the thoughts of the concepts behind it are from his own personal experiences traveling nonstop in a touring band. The paranoia I felt at the time was much more related to how people related to each other, but I was using terminology of technology to express it. Everything I was writing was actually a way of trying to reconnect with other human beings when you're always in transit. That's what I had to write about because that's what was going on, which in itself distilled a kind of loneliness and disconnection. OK Computer was released to universal acclaim upon its release and is often considered to be one of the greatest albums of all time. On its 20th anniversary in 2017, the band released a deluxe set including B-sides and never-before-released studio versions of songs titled OK Computer, OK Not OK. Interesting. For me, in a nutshell, this is an album about how society evolves alongside technology. Since it touches themes such as paranoia and isolation in technology itself, it makes up for a good example of how humans evolve at the presence of all the good things and the risk of technology itself. Yeah. This is a very interesting album. So I kind of agree with this, but I also disagree on some of the points that he makes. So it seems very conceptual. It feels like it's moving forward, and it feels experimental and ahead of its time. Yes, all of that's correct. But I don't necessarily think that makes it better than, what does he say? Neanderthal rock and roll? Yeah. Just my opinion. Anyway, yeah, I really like the album. But let's continue. Stay tuned for the next part of this. Thank you for joining me. And yeah, I'm excited to continue through this journey. And just so you know, I've now listened to the album multiple times. So I like it a lot. It's very atmospheric. I've put it on for background music while I'm writing. Similar to the band whose shirt I'm wearing, I put on Opeth music multiple times as well while I'm writing. So yeah, that's been fun. Anyway, thanks for joining. See you in the next video. Deathstroke 9, out.